Okay, I want to welcome everyone. If we want to rise and head towards the doors, pledge allegiance. The flag's over there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, under recognition of visitors, Tim Moore.
Hello. This the WCHC meeting, the next one is November 20th here in the media center. We'll be discussing the old-fashioned Christmas.
7 o'clock?
Excuse me?
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock. And we will also be discussing items for the next levy coming up in February. So if anybody here is interested in attending, or cannot attend, but would like to get information on, if they want to leave us an email address, and we get them all the information. Anything else on that, Sean? Okay, thank you.
You guys probably have flyers back there regarding it, correct?
Lots of flyers.
There's some on the table as well. Okay. Thank you. Marcia Langdon.
Hello, I'm Marcia Landon. You just told me to stand up.
I get that all. They tell me that all the time. Just ignore them. Tim, I can see her.
I see you too. It's okay. Don't knock him out.
I'm sorry, Marcia.
I'm with Waterloo KPO and the PTO over at the elementary school. Two things that I am bringing to the school and to this community to try to get more community support. Trying to do things a little bit different. I am hosting on November 30th a Polar Express Family Movie Night. I've opened it up to everybody. I emailed Dan Klowski to put it even in the newspaper. Children are free. I'm only charging for adults, and that's $5 per adult. And children have to have an adult with them to attend the movie. Doors open at 6:30. The movie will start at 7. Everybody is welcome to wear their pajamas, appropriately pajamas. But we will have popcorn, snacks, drinks, cocoa. The children will also be given golden tickets and everything, just like the Polar Express movie. That will be November 30th. The next thing that I am hosting, also to get out there to the community and to our staff, is I'm hosting a Harlem Wizards basketball game on March 20th. I have talked to Dr. Hill about this. I would like to get the faculty and staff involved to play against the Wizards. I need about 20 to 25 of our faculty and staff and about 5 senior players to also be students. Earlier that day, we will do an assembly at 1:45 with the elementary and middle school students. The Wizards will come in and do an assembly prior to them to get them energetic for the game. I'm hoping this will turn around some of the community and get them involved as much as possible, and also let them so they can see our school spirit with our staff and our children.
Thank you.
We're only hearing nothing about your shins twice. You got 3 months.
Rick?
Yeah, I'd like to be, since we got a few more people there over than 4, I'd like to address, I hope it's going to be discussed on the school. I'm really confused how Cleveland asking for 15 mills to pass a school levy, and here in Akron, Ohio, they asked for 10, and they're passing their school levies around there. This is the third track, fourth track. We're close to, and everybody knows it, but they're not doing anything about it. Who's the group not supporting? My grandkids or the kids? All the meetings I have attended, I'm really confused what's going on. I think the board members, as much effort, less, we're not as a community putting the hammer down. I heard some other teachers, people that called, I had talked to. I don't know if you can eliminate busing altogether. The state mandated you have to do that. Evidently, people in this community in Randolph and Atwater have not got the picture. My valuation of my home, the number of people in Randolph and Atwater went down. Why? Good schools. I'd say that's the number one reason. Second of all, I go, hit them hard. No cafeteria. Every kid comes in with a brown bag. Shorter school day. Everybody is dismissed. An hour and a half for like 1:30. They go home to one babysitter. So it's going to wake up some people. All buildings will be closed after a certain time. All sports will be eliminated from the 8th grade down. You can't pay for it if you're not going to do it. And the other thing, quickly, I think what happened with our school board, what I've heard in the past, you guys threatened all these teachers, then you brought them all back. You're kidding everybody in this community. You got the money to run this thing. I've heard it for a lot of people. It's been a joke for 4 times, because we keep on bringing everybody back. And being coming into these board meetings, I know that's not true. We've got, where we put more kids in the classroom, then we go back to Cleveland. Why didn't he pass theirs with 15 mil? Only difference I see, I think somebody's wondering if the thing wasn't fixed. Because after 3 years, they got an option to come back to appeal that school levy if the grades don't come up in the school. But I still cannot believe how 2 communities, 4 communities in this state got these things passed. So I think the handwriting's on the wall. You're either going to have to get tough, or you're just going to continue. We're going to have state take over. I've been every meeting he's done. He's cut about everything he could cut. And we're losing a good group of teachers in this community. Plus, administrators. So, kind of sad though, we got to sit here and people do not show up. They didn't even, hardly anybody at the township meeting for candidates tonight. But they came out and voted, and they voted it down. Sad. That day in these 2 communities.
You want to say 10 minutes, or do you mind if I say something?
No, go ahead, I was going to, but go ahead, you can.
You know, Rick, you and I have known each other a long time, and we've been here together at all these meetings, and I look to you as one of the elders of this community. And I take what you say, and you know, I think about that stuff, but I'm not sure that threatening anybody is gonna do that little girl sitting in the front row there any good. And I'm a realist, and these are not threats, the things that are coming. They're not threats at all. It's reality. And that's the way I like to look at it. You know, a threat is a negative thing. A reality can be positive or negative. But what we got coming down the pike is not very good. And, you know, as far as taking busing away, I mean, you know, we're very lucky that we're all on the same campus. We've knocked down how much? It's like $200,000 or $300,000 or something like that by going to one starting time. You know, Andy's done everything he can. I mean, we're you know, bringing the teachers back. It may have looked like that all of a sudden we had this windfall and Merry Christmas, but you know, personally, I don't care. Because having that money that we weren't expecting to bring those teachers back is going to benefit that little girl and the guys sitting in the back. So, I mean, if it benefits them, I don't care what anybody says. You know, and they're gonna, people are gonna come up with a reason to not vote for this levy no matter what. If somebody wrote in a letter and told us all to dress in clown suits and do a tap dance and they'd vote for the levy, I would do it. I don't know about Ken. Actually, I'd like to see you. But then they would say, well, you didn't do the right dance. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard, screw the school, screw the levy. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that. And these are people that have kids in the school. These are the people that have children. But what they don't understand is when the state comes in and we have to start borrowing money, that's when the fat lady sings. Because there won't be a vote. Every property owner in this district will be assessed. They're not going to have a choice. So we bite the bullet now. You know, we did exactly what the majority of the people that came in here asked us to do. We knocked the millage down, we knocked the years down, and we still get beat by what, 40%? So, I mean, reality is going to hit sooner or later. The inevitable is coming sooner or later. And the only people that are going to suffer out of this is not me and you. It's that little girl sitting right there, and them guys sitting in the back.
Well, I realize that. I've got grandkids too. My 3 kids came out under some same circumstances. We had to pay for it. All 3 of my kids went on to higher education, where I don't have to support, bring them back from them, have to take care of them. I wish the same for all these kids. But I see some of my grandkids, I go up there, they're learning in this school. I had Ohio history as a 4th grader for my granddaughter. I was really embarrassed because I did not get the education that she did back when I was in that time. Another question, have we found out what age group have not supported it?
Yeah.
Under the precincts and ran up in that one, we ask that question every time something goes down.
Well, we haven't seen the breakdowns yet because they're not available from the last election.
But we will.
We will, and we'll get
Okay, now
those.
another question, on this board meeting tonight, how many hits do you get on that? Because I heard people tell me that I watch that thing at home, I don't have time to come in. I don't believe that's true.
I think I can look.
Usually we have about between 9 and 15, don't we?
The last meeting we had 25 views. That was the meeting 2 weeks ago. That was the forum. The one before had 15 views. The one before that, 13. Some of them have been as high as 90. Others have been as low as 5. But you asked about the demographics and the breakdown. When we have looked at that in the past, we looked at November of 2010 and May of 2011, which were the first 2 in this series of this 5 requests. And they were drastically different in as far as voter turnout. In November of 10, there was 3,100 people that voted. In May of 11, there was 1,700. But both times, the percentages of voters that turned out, what we would consider to be people that you assume are retired, fixed income, those type, age 65 to 100 is where we drew the line on these demographics. They accounted for 22% of the voters in both of those elections. On the other end, 18 through 30, they accounted for 7% of the voters both times. So that meant 71% of the people voting were between the ages of 31 and 64. And the assumptions that we make on that are that those people are people that actually are out there working, are not on fixed incomes. Now, those are assumptions, they're not hard facts. But what that told us, the reason we looked at that, was because we were deciding for the next attempt back then, people talked about these income taxes that don't that do not affect the people on fixed incomes, the earned income taxes. And that told us, man, if we try that, based off of those numbers, we're gonna get killed even worse, because those are the people, that 71%, that are gonna shoulder the burden of that tax. So that's what we've looked at. We will, they don't make the breakdown of all of this available until after they certify the results, which is, I don't know if that's 10 or 30 days after, I forget. But we will get this latest round and look at those.
You know, another thing that's, the night for the day before, I got that famous call from the keeper. And I discussed that with you before. They backed the field school levy, even though it was not back. And I asked them, it was posted up at Randolph going out there, and I asked them, how do you guys back that school levy and not ours, where we make all the costs?
What did they say?
He said, our group voted on to back the field school. It was you guys. I think you met with a couple. They have, in our society, the more expensive it is, we fought for the rights to do that. Stand there, that's the reason I serve. That's why I'm going to be here tomorrow. For Veterans Day, got 3 places. And it just upsets me, you know, as I get older, all the things we worked for. We had a Democratic election the other day, and the people chose. And people chose right here in this township. Where your money, you can control your money right here, and we're not doing it. At least you know where it's going here. When you do it for the federal government, you don't know where it's going. We don't have that choice.
This Tea Party thing, you know, you've heard this before, the board's heard it numerous times, but for those that haven't, the way that they do their endorsements, they leave it up to the local people who live in that area to make a decision, and then they endorse it at the county level. So when you hear that the Portage County Tea Party supports Field or has no decision on Crestwood and rejects and says vote no on Aurora, Rootstown, and Waterloo, those are the local people. And I don't know how many local people there are. We met with the local people in the Tea Party here. There are at least a group of them. There were 6 people. So for all I know, those are the 6 people that are deciding, no, don't support it, and telling Tom Z, this is the message from our community, who then turns around and puts that out as the Portage County Tea Party. It's confusing though, because people don't know that. And what they hear is the Portage County Tea Party supports Field and doesn't support Waterloo. And that would make me think, well, what's Waterloo doing wrong if Field isn't? But that's the way their system is set up. They have the freedom to do that. And for what it's worth, we've met with them and we've talked to them numerous times. There's not one bad thing that they have ever said about our district, about the way it's run. Matter of fact, they've made numerous positive comments about what Waterloo does do and has done for years. They just say that there's no support for an increased tax for anything. That happens to be our captain in the group here in this area's viewpoint.
Well, Andy and I have talked to 2 different legislators. Did I interrupt you, Lisa?
No, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We've talked to 2 different legislators. All right, both Republicans, not that it makes a difference because I don't think any of them are going to vote for it. But they've already told us, we asked them point blank, what are you going to do for our schools? How are you going to help us? And they both got this smirk on their face and said nothing. They said, if we vote for tax increases, we lose votes. So it's on your shoulders. Plain and simple. That's now I'm not going to say that's the attitude of every legislator, because I know Kathleen Clyde, talking wise, is very supportive of the schools and said that she was going to try to do something. But these 2 guys said we're doing nothing because we lose votes when we raise taxes. It's your problem. So there you go. That's what we can expect.
Just looking at some of the items you talked about, Rick, you said cut busing. We optimized our busing for it's costing pretty much the least amount that it can cost us. We could cut busing, but I, as a board member, would never personally support that. If you look at geographically where we're located, we've got Waterloo Road over here, and you got 224 over here, and if you had kids, there's no sidewalks, that kind of stuff, and it's just too, to me, that risk is not worth anything I would ever want to go into with kids walking those roads to come to school, because you know, anything could happen. It'd be way too dangerous in my mind, I would think.
Well, that's one of the other things.
But then, talking about the cafeteria, our cafeteria actually operates in the black. It has a positive cash flow.
They're just one entity. They
As an
operate as their own entity, the cafeteria.
So
I realize that.
So we're not losing it. You're saying to punish
Still, you're
them.
not getting through to that percentage of people that do not care, will not go through.
Well, I think one of the things you have to look at, you know, a buddy of mine lives in Amherst, and he's very involved in the local government. He's a Tea Party guy. Even in spite of that, he's still my buddy. And he's very involved in all the school levy and stuff. And he called me first thing Wednesday morning and said, we passed our levy. I can't believe you guys failed. And Cleveland and Akron passed. You realize that says the people in Cleveland and the people in Akron care more about their kids than the people in Waterloo. And I said, well, so, you know, my reply was, eventually my reply got to, you know, something to the effect that, you know, to somebody out from the outside looking in, it may appear that way. But there are a lot of dynamics that went on for a time period that I don't think we're giving it enough credit to a very turbulent time we had that pretty much ended about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And I think that we're still feeling some of the effects of all that turbulence that went on during that time. I mean, we had turbulence for 3 or 4 years. And I think that you know, everything's better. We're all happy. We're all getting along, you know, genuinely like everybody, you know, that kind of thing. And that's all fine. But to the community member out there that doesn't come to these meetings, they still remember the 3 years of negative publicity that was in the paper and all the things that were said then and there. Some of it true, some of it not true, quite honestly. But I think that that's the thing that we're discounting, and I think that in my mind, that's, you know, people still, they hold that a lot longer than we do because they're not here every day to see that, hey, that's no longer going on. There's no, I mean, as a board, I mean, step up if I'm wrong here, guys, but I think we get along very well. We work together. We don't always agree. You know, we have some emotional discussions, but at the end of the day, we all shake hands and we're, you know, there's no, you know, we have no animosity. But it wasn't always that way, and I think that we just have the residual effect of that. And it's basically what's it going to take to heal? And that's kind of, I think that, you know, you look at what we've done and how, even though we've had these cuts, and we've cut probably 15, 20 staff members. I apologize, I should know that number, but, you know, we've cut a lot of people, and then we haven't run. So there have been a lot of people gone, and looking at what the state does, if the state comes in, they're going to lend us money at 0 interest. But we are eventually going to have to pass a levy to pay that money back. The money, you know, they don't just give it to us. The money, we have to pay that back. If it's 5, 10, 15, 20 mils, whatever. And so, that, you know, that is, the chickens will come home to roost at that point. But I think that's the more I think about it, I think that, you know, there are just a lot of things that we just, time heals all wounds, and we haven't gotten enough time yet. So.
How close are we, you say we're at 4 now?
To state minimum? Or are you asking close to?
We're at 4 levies.
We're at 5. And actually, if you go back to March of '08, which was a request for an emergency additional, this is actually times 6 in a row that's failed for new money.
That state representative we had here that night, he come in after how many?
You know, so when they get, what'll happen is we have to keep submitting plans each year of how we're going to get back to 0 for the next fiscal year, because we can't end in a deficit. And that when they will come in and really appoint their oversight commission and put you in fiscal emergency, is when you can no longer do that and pay your bills, because you have to be in fiscal emergency to get them to loan you your money from future years. So for us, we're probably a school year and a half away from that at the most. You know, the next time that we have to make cuts, based off of the last time we looked at our numbers, I don't believe we have enough to cut to stay above state minimums, which we're obligated to do. So this district, as you've heard here before, will go quickly. Some places go into fiscal caution. A few years later, they wander into watch or emergency. This place, absent some change, will go quickly from not being in anything to being in fiscal emergency because we won't be able to pay bills. And we've had that conversation with the state, and they've acknowledged that on numerous different occasions. But you know, you ask a couple questions about some of these things, and Brian addressed them well there. Yeah, I think ultimately, you know, the discussions have to be, what are we here for? And we're here for the kids, and then you can look at that two different ways. You know, you look at it as you do those things that you suggest, even though they may have no financial benefit at all to help us. Busing, as Brian said, we could cut to state minimums tomorrow and actually lose money from what we do now. And that's the truth. We would actually lose, I think the difference was like $80,000 a year if we went to state minimums. So why do it? The only reason you do that is to inconvenience somebody.
I realize that, but was there school systems that did that?
There are school systems that have done that and have been successful in the threat and passed their levy. And there's school systems that have put those threats out there and they've continued to fail, and then they implement something. And the other thing you have to recognize is that every place is different. You know, what we did here with busing couldn't be replicated in Cleveland City, you know, or maybe even in our neighboring districts. We were just fortunate enough to be able to do it with the size of our district. And so what we, you know, while we can look at other places to see what they do, and we do that regularly, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the same result or the same success by doing something there. In the risk you run, when you do things strictly, in my opinion, when you do things strictly out of the, I'm going to do this to you, even though there's no positive benefit financially for the district, and definitely no benefit for the kids, the risk you run is the voters say, they call your bluff. And then either you follow through and you enact a bunch of changes that are to the disadvantage of kids and aren't doing the district any good, or you back off of that and you know the kind of problems that can cause. You know, and so I think ultimately, I feel my responsibility to this board and to this district is to recommend what is in the best interest of these kids. And so I personally find it hard to ever bring forth a recommendation that would solely be out of, let's do this to threaten people because we think this is going to pass a levy. And the reality is, I don't know what passes a levy here besides time. You look at the last time one passed, it took 3 years and 8 times before it finally passed. So that seems to be the only factor that you can figure out. We've heard things about, we've heard various stories from back then. People thought the state may consolidate. Other people will tell you that that's not what people thought. So, I don't know. But those are good things, Rick, because there's places that do that, and they do that successfully. Where I grew up just did that. They threatened that they were going to eliminate all athletics. They were going to cut the state minimum busing, state minimum school day with hours, and their voters approved it. But there's other districts that did the same thing, and now they're going to be cutting to do that. Garfield was the one last year that did that for a period of time before it passed.
The only thing I would say is, I've been doing this every time when we get voted down, I think the same thing. How do we just can't figure out a way to get out to the people, to get the information to the people. And we have the Community Action Committee now, and they're trying, and they're running into the same walls, and it's a shame because they worked really hard to try and do that. It's as simple, it comes down, to me, it comes down to as simple as people say they don't have the extra money to pass a levy. What happens is, for example, you have someone who has a $100,000 home. If it would have passed the first time, it would have cost them about, I think it was $8 a person at that time. I mean, $8 a month at that time, which I know that doesn't seem like much, but to some people it is. We can't get them below $13 now. And it's not because we're not trying. We've done everything we can do. We've cut everywhere we can cut. And it's starting to affect us. We're now effective instead of excellent or excellent with distinction. And that's not because of our teachers. That's not because that's just how the tests come through. It's a factor of the way our community is changing, the people that are moving in and the people that are moving out, the test scores, it comes down to everything, from income to single parent families to, it comes down to all of that. It's all figured in. And what's happening is our community is changing. The dynamic of our community is changing. I don't think it's going to be for the good, because people are going to make less money, and we're going to have to continue to go up, and we don't want to do that. And I mean, someone says, well, you only have a kid, you only have your kid's a junior, so you've only got one more year to worry about it. No, if I would have passed it, if we would have passed it back when it started, I would have been paying about $180 more a year for the last, let's say, for the last two years, right? 2 years. Okay, so that's $360. I just paid $300 for him to play one sport. So whenever he's out of school, you're right. I'm going to only, okay, next year I pay $300 again if that's what it stays at. Well, then after he's out of school, do I not pay anymore? No, because by that time the state comes in and we're passing a 12 mil levy and being excited about it because, we finally passed the levy, which isn't going to get us anything, because it's just, at that point, we're going to be so low, we have to be 5 years in the black to come out of fiscal emergency. So here, so now I'm thinking, it doesn't matter whether you have kids in school or not. You're going to be paying more in taxes. If you want a school, you're going to be paying school taxes. And it's just going to keep going up. There's no way we can go backwards. We've tried everything we can. Unless you want to not have a school, you have to pay taxes. And we get that people don't have the money. But in a couple more years, they're going to have less money, and the levy's going to be more. It's just, and by that time, it's going to be too late. They're going to wake up and say, oh my gosh, if I would just voted for it the first time. But people aren't getting that message, and I don't know unless we sit down with each one of them and write it down. Okay, you have a kid that's an 8th grader or a 10th grader and a senior. This is how much it's going to cost you for the next 5 years if you don't pass the levy, and if you do pass the levy, this is how much it's going to cost you. Unless we sit down and figure that out, you're 75 years old, this is where you're at, this is how much your home is. But we have that ability to do that. They're on the website, they get on the website, you can look right there, put your address in, it gives you the home value, it gives you how much your taxes are. Right now, what they're going to be if the levy passes. Right now. And we have all this information for people, and we have 14 people show up at a levy meeting. Getting them through the door, and it's a shame because the way the system works is, like I told Andy the other day, I said, it'd be nice if when we have open house, we get everybody in the doors, lock the doors down, and say, okay, you're going to listen to us. This is what's going on, and if you don't pass this out, we can't do that. We don't have the ability to do that. That's not, we can't do that. It'd be nice, but we can't do that. And we can't do it, tomorrow at Veterans Day when we have the senior citizens in here. We can't lock them in the building and say, okay, you guys, this is what you're not listening to us. Okay, listen to us. We can't do that. So we have to, Andy has gone to every organization there is, garden club, quilt club. He went to the Red Hats. He didn't, that was a little, he's gone to the Lions Club, the trustees meetings, to that, we've all gone, we've done open forums, we've done everything we can imagine, and we just don't have the turnout. I don't know, you know, people say people don't care about the kids, but ultimately, I think they need to care about the community more. I mean, the kids are a part of that, but the community is going to change, and the whole thing is going to change, and before we know it, it's not going to look good. So if we want to live here and we want to have a great community like we have, we really have to get the word out somehow, and we have to get people educated in that, because that I just, other than time, like Brian said, I don't know what else. I mean, we've racked our brains for years trying to figure this out. And, I mean, 17 years
1995.
since, other than the bond issue to build this building, 17 years since we passed new operating money. 17 years. Oh my gosh, you know.
So how many people out there can live on what they made in 1995?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
That's pretty much what we're doing. We're living, you know, and someone said to me the other day, well, you're spending too much. No, we're budgeting for what we're getting from the state. And then we turn around and the state says, well, we're not giving you that much. Okay, so you're told you're going to get $200 this week. And then the state says, no, I think we're only getting you $100 this week. Well, you've already budgeted that in. Well, what are you going to do? You cut and, you know, you're stuck. So it's not, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but unless people figure out that there aren't threats. We haven't threatened anyone. Everything we've said, like Andy said, when we say something, we follow through with it, because it's what we have to do to keep in the black. We cannot be operating at a deficit. We can't. So we have to do it. And I think, personally, I told Todd and Andy they're doing too good of a job, because somehow we still have a great school, we still have wonderful teachers, we still have wonderful staff, and somehow they're all hanging in there with us. And, you know, it's been a tough road, and I would hope next year, when we come back in February, they will change.
Speaking about with you saying that you have a good job, my name is Jackie Riggs. I'm a parent, my son's in 4th grade. And speaking about you saying you have good staff and you have good teachers in the school and stuff, me as a voter, I also heard a lot, because a lot of people were like, well, why should we pass the levy? We are rated an excellent school. We have this great rating. Well, if they would have came to the levy meeting that we did have, and Andy did a great job with the presentation, and they would have saw we were not rated an excellent school anymore. We have fallen down in our ratings, and they would have seen that with those ratings not being excellent anymore, it's going to affect our children. And if we can't get that levy to pass to get that excellent rating again, to get our kids the great education they need, then I think that's where we need to try and get out there to let them know we're not at that excellent rating anymore. We have fallen.
Yeah, I had someone tell me today, and she wasn't raised here. She's 58 years old, 60 years old. She lives in the community. She has no kids. So when she went to vote, she wanted to do her research. So she got online and she got on the state website and looked at a comparison of all the schools in the area. Look at how Waterloo compared to the other schools in the area. And she said, oh my gosh, it's a great school. Well, yeah, you're not telling me anything, but yeah, she said it was wonderful. She said, why wouldn't you vote for it? And I said, well, that's kind of my feeling on it. But at the same time, you have, we had someone at that meeting that said, well, what are you doing? And you just, Ann and I looked at each other and said, oh, heavens. We think, you know, we're exhausting ourselves to the point where we've done, you know, mailings, we've done door to door at freezing cold, you know, going out in the snow, door to door. We have called people. We've had a spaghetti dinner. We've had a pancake breakfast. We've had, what's that?
Hayride.
Yes, yes. I mean, we've had everything we can imagine. So if anybody has new ideas, we're all open for it. But we've had teachers standing on the corners in Atwater and Randolph trying to, you know, picks up the signs and puts them back every single election. So we've exhausted ourselves with
I mean, I'm
ideas.
not saying that we don't have an excellent school. We do have
No,
very
right,
excellent school,
right.
very good staff.
But people don't know that.
We need to understand
Right.
that we aren't at that excellent level anymore.
Right.
Because we're slowly, without that money being there for the students to be able to have that education, we're slowly going under that excellent status that we need to be at.
And I think it's very disheartening for the staff, the entire staff, I think including administrators, that basically every couple months, the community tells you that they don't value you. And that's the way they take it. I mean, I think that just human nature human nature is what it is, and that's the message eventually, the first time or two, okay, but eventually that's the message that you're going to take and it's going to be in the back of your mind. And I'm sure it's disheartening, and it's, you're working hard and you might feel unappreciated and all those kind of things. And that all that goes into that, to what you're doing. So,
Well, I've heard people say, well, it's not, don't say we don't care about the kids, it's because we don't have money. Well, what are the kids going to, what are you going to think? What are the teachers going to think? Well, who do you think it's about? If they don't pass it, it's, yes, it affects us, but not. It doesn't affect the administrators as much as it affects the kids. It doesn't affect the staff as much as it affects the kids. It doesn't. It affects the kids and their education. So when you say it's just because I don't have the money, it doesn't. It's not. We're not against the kids. Well, it's not that you're against them, but you're not helping them. And if we want this community to grow and blossom and everything and keep it the way it's been for years, then that's what we need to do. So somehow we have to get the word out. And like I said, everything we've tried doesn't seem to be working. So somehow, like I said, next to locking them in a room, like my suggestion. But yeah, very good.
Okay, I can appreciate Mr. Hu's comments, but as a parent and a mom, I just really, really would be heartbroken if we took some of those threats to further action. Because, like Brian was saying, walking on Waterloo Road, my son would be within a 2-mile radius. And even being a high schooler, it is not safe. There's no sidewalks, there's no berm, no nothing. And we are punishing the people that are out there supporting the school every day. And we're punishing and putting our kids' safety on line. We can't have that. And as far as the lunches, yes, most of our kids would have a lunch and come to school, but there are many children that their parents don't do things for them extra. And they wouldn't have a lunch. So again, we've hurt and harmed another child. And the sports, I'm kind of iffy there because I'm sending my kids to school and my top priority is that they get an education. So if I was going to choose a place to cut, I would say cut sports to a degree. They're important though to keep them out of trouble and to, they are good for them too, but that is a place that I personally feel we're not going on to the NBA starts, but we do want our kids to be able to succeed in college. And so I would send you back. That's my fear. I don't want my kids' safety jeopardized. I don't want to see another kid go without a lunch, because that may have been his only meal on the day. And I do think maybe we could look at sports a little differently and maybe do something there, not because that's my preference. My children have been in sports and many activities. I support them all and love them all. But being out in the community, that is one of the first things that people say. Their first negative comment is, I'm not paying for somebody's kid to play sports. Well, we know that's not the case, but they do. And maybe not even cut the sports, but show them some background that the community is not paying for Bobby and Susie to cheer and play basketball. So maybe not even a cut, but some information out there. And finally, I don't know if we're legally allowed to do this or if it's even a good idea. I think it's a good idea because when a kid looks at me and asks for something, I can't turn them down. And when they look at me with sad eyes, that's really even worse. But maybe get our student body involved and positively, I don't like going door to door. I don't think that's safe either. But maybe we have a group of children or youth with adults, staff, and out in our community, standing there with banners, putting some articles in the paper with a big picture of our kids, and with them telling their stories in Waterloo, not their moms or their grandparents, but the kids themselves tell me about their experiences here at Waterloo. Because I don't know too many kids that'll give us a bad story. Even if they say they hate school, they got good stories to tell from here. And show them the facts and show them what some of our kids have gone on to do. They're succeeding out there and they came from Waterloo. And they have made some very good successes in their careers. So that's my recommendation. I think we should get the kids involved some way. Not by themselves to make it not safe. And there's one other thing that kind of irritates me, sorry, not rule here. But many of us do care very, very much. And just because we don't come to a school board meeting or to a levy meeting, I was here in the first 2 years when Dr. Hill gave all the PowerPoints and all the information, and it opened my eyes. Not that I ever didn't support the school, because I always have. I'm a graduate of Waterloo, very proud to be a Viking. But when he showed us those facts, they really opened my eyes, because I had no idea that the state mandated so many things, and there were so many regulations and things we couldn't cut. So again, if we could somehow get that information out, and not tell the people we're disappointed in them for not coming here to these meetings, because there's lots of reasons people don't. I'm one of them. I don't have time. And I gotta work a job, and my job comes first so I can pay my bills for my kids. So they can come to school and pay play and everything else. So maybe we can approach it in a different way, a more positive aspect, instead of trying to point the blame to certain groups or whatever. More positively say, we know maybe everybody's busy and doesn't have the information, but look at this fact sheet. And if they're not coming to the meetings, let's try to get it in the papers, or, I don't know, a recording or something. Even
Do you think if you would have seen that on paper form, like we have it, I believe we have the PowerPoints on the website, do we?
Yeah.
Like if you were to see that, do you think it would have had the same impact though, as if you watched it up here?
No, I think they need to see the kids right in their face. They need to see them on video, they need to hear them, they need to see those little faces looking at them.
We got two right back there, Ruth and Tommy.
There they go, they can go out and tell their story. I really do think that would help, and I don't think they should go door to door by themselves with signs or propaganda. But maybe, I think a nice start would be a nice article on the paper with a nice picture of all our kids from different schools telling their stories.
I agree with you.
Go ahead, sorry.
I agree with everything that you're saying, and I understand there's a lot of parents out there that care. But what I want to know is how many parents that voted no on it. Those are the people we need to reach, and maybe we should send out surveys to every student, goes home. How do you think, what is your opinion on how we can reach these people that are no voters? How do we do this? I was at the post office the other day. I had a conversation with this lady. She doesn't live around here, but she works at the post office in Randolph. And she's talking to me, and she goes, I just don't understand. And we're talking all the time now, and she goes, I've heard so many different stories on why that levy doesn't pass. I go, well, would you care to share a couple with me? And one of them was, well, everybody said that they just sent a levy out, and we passed it 4 years ago. Why are they asking for, more money? And just stuff like that. And I said, well, to be honest with you, it's been 17 years. So next time they come in, maybe you could just go ahead and drop that. Hey, it's been 17 years, it hasn't been 4 years. Maybe you should go to one of those meetings that they have, and you figure out, what really is going on in the school. But no, you choose not to. And I understand, I'm busy too. I talked to Dr. Hill about that last night. I said, I'm sick and tired of going to forums and after forums after forum. Let's just have one big forum, set it up in January, hit it hard, or go home, forget about it. That's just how I feel about that too. How do we reach those 1,100 people that said no? I want the ideas from all of you guys. Maybe we didn't do something right. We've tried everything.
In our minds, there's probably other
right,
things.
in both of our committees and their new committee. I don't know how to reach these people. If I knew,
Some of them want to be preached.
it just drives me crazy.
They're bitter and just want to be the devil's advocate. That's the way it is with anything you do. You're always going to have, maybe not this big of a group, we might capture some,
Right.
but there are some people that are always going to take the opposite side just to be. And I have sat in the bleachers. I sat and I stood in the parking lot a couple years ago when this first started, and I heard a mother that had several children, and she proceeded to say she would not vote for the levy, bad-mouthing it upset one side down the other. When asked why, she said, because I can. because I can vote it down.
It's
So
the
that's
one
the
thing
mentality
they
we
can't
deal
say.
with as a small group of people, and we will not switch those people.
Right.
All we'll do is tick them off more, and they'll keep telling their story. We have to positively go after this and work hard. Or, we are working hard, but even harder, but maybe take a more positive approach.
Well, just to throw in a little bit, we are so transparent, and we do have so much information out into the, our accessibility to information. And, the commitment that our administrators, our board, and the teachers and staff, the things that they have, contributed to our ongoing operations, it is just, you can lead people to water, but you can't make them drink. I mean, the information is there. I mean, they should be absolutely turning flips over the way that, the administration and our support staff and teachers and such have contributed to the ongoing success of this district. Just on our energy performance contract that we have here, we've went way above what projections were going to be. And that was because there was a commitment made by the administration and the staff in getting this to use the dollars that we have as wise as possible. We've promoted it. We've gone way above this to trumpet our accomplishments. Just doesn't seem to matter. To me, it's one of those things, if you want to know, if they came through and increased your electric bill 20%, every household around would be finding out why did they do that, and what they would find out would be minuscule compared to the accomplishments that we've got, that we've done to save money and to use it more wisely. We've listened to the people, we've listened to concerns. Like Steve said, we came back with 5-year levies, shorten the term, shorten the amount. Smart money would have said this was going to pass this time. Now we're back in February, and we're going to be back after that, and we're going to be back after that. The schools aren't going anywhere. So if the schools are gone, we'll be in a big, big hole before that happens. And it's not fair to the kids, it's not fair to the community, and why people can't see that doesn't make sense. And I do applaud our administration and our teachers and our staff for all that they contribute and continue to contribute. They're not doing this because it's a job. We've had some people leave already, good teachers, people that didn't want to leave. But there's no security here. They had to go with some security. You hate to lose people like that. It's a loss to the community as well as it's a loss to our professional staff. But that's the situation we're in. And how that doesn't get through to neighbors and community, I don't know. I mean, to me it's a little cold-hearted, it's a little short-sighted, and it's probably not very wise business. But the reality is, I do appreciate the Waterloo Action Committee and those people that can take this appointment and say, okay, it's over with, let's move on, let's move forward. We'll try it again, we'll keep pushing and pushing until we get our message across. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to stay positive. We can argue and be confrontational, or even, take things away that don't make sense. That's not doing anyone any good, least of all our student body. And I would like to think that we should all lead by example, and that there's a reason why we have to do things. We don't take this job lightly. We don't take our responsibilities lightly, and there is not a person on this board that does not feel it in every bit of their body and soul when we have to make a cut, because we know that cut's going to impact some person or persons in this community. and we will not jeopardize the health and welfare of our students to make a point. In no aspect. So we are going to run this school. We're going to run the best program we can, and we would hope that the community would take the initiative to review what our accomplishments are, what our vision for this community is, and our responsibility to the kids. And I do appreciate you coming to the meeting. I would like to see this place packed. We can move it to the gym, but that would be good.
I think I accomplished what I wanted to do. I didn't want to come in here negative, but if I was sitting up there, I would say, why did you come? You must have a concern, and why did you come, and why did the leader? I've been in so many of these board meetings. We've got some people, and I think I opened up the eyes of what she did want. I can see it now. Nobody wants those cuts. But sometimes you got to threaten them. This is what's going to happen. I didn't even come out that negative. It will never happen.
Rick, we know you all too well.
Somebody has got to step forward and say, hey, here's the bad news. But I watched the different people come in. They all got concerns. And I think they didn't sign it because they probably don't know if they can speak in front of her and ask a question. I think it's great that these people do care that are here.
Absolutely.
Well, I think too, and I agree with you, I mean, it is hard to make meetings, believe me. I got here at 5 till tonight, so, and I know it's coming, but even if you can come, then like Mary Kay said, you can get, it's just so much easier to understand. I'm a vision person, so if I can see it and someone's talking to me and telling me, I get it a lot better. And then, or like Rick, if you're at Bob's, like my husband was at Bob's yesterday morning for breakfast. He took his car into Wise's and went across to Bob's. And he said, there were some guys there talking about the levy and how they weren't going to vote for it. I said, what'd you do? He goes, well, I didn't do anything. And I looked at him and I said, well, you know all the information. Do something. I said, no, there's where you could lock the door and say, okay, you guys aren't leaving until I hear from every one of you. But, I mean, by knowing the information, like knowing the information you know, if someone says something to you, you can say, you can answer them with educated information. It's just like, you know, you tell 2 friends, you tell 2 friends, you tell 2 friends, or have them call the superintendent, have them call one of us, have them call somebody. If it's a financial, have them call Todd, even though he gets a little nervous dealing with people. He's a numbers guy. But, but he'll talk to him anyway. Yeah, I always tell him if he would just talk, people would really like him, but he's just a little shy.
That's why I don't like him.
But anyway, if we can educate a few, then they can educate the next group, and they can educate the next group, and we can get, I keep thinking every time more people know what's going on, and less people, and I have heard that, because I can. But at some point, like Steve said, it won't be our community anymore. It won't be our choice. They're going to assess it and you're going to pay it. And there isn't going to be an option and you're not going to have a vote. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. Whenever they want more money for the schools, they just up your taxes and take it. And so, you know, whenever I came here and heard about this whole levy thing, I thought, are they out of their mind? Who in their right mind would vote to raise their own taxes? And then you think, well, what else are you going to do? And there are people that say the state, they were saying it the other night at the candidates night, well, it's illegal the way the state does it. Well, it might be, but that doesn't help us in the short term.
Yeah.
We need to do something about here, about Waterloo. Until the state decides that years from now, we can't.
Yeah, I think an important thing to note on that topic is, so everybody always, a lot of people throw out this DeVault, which was where they ruled the school funding in the state unconstitutional.
Right.
So I've been, I didn't feel like I could answer that well. So I've been actually reading these cases, and I'm into case 3. I got about 200 pages to read up to 4. But what that actually said is that what they found unconstitutional was an over-reliance on property tax, not property tax itself. What they did was they took a look at the aggregate amount of money spent across the state of Ohio on K-12 public education. And they saw that the breakdown was like 58% of it came from local, 42% from the state. So they went back to the thorough and efficient clause of the Ohio Constitution and said, that's an over-reliance on property tax, that's unconstitutional. But then after that came out, people started running around saying, you can't charge property tax to fund education, that's unconstitutional. And that court came back and clarified, even before they gave their second ruling, they said, we did not say property taxes to fund education was unconstitutional, and over-reliance of it was. If you look at Waterloo, 60% of our funding roughly comes from the state. 40% comes from local. That is not an over-reliance. So the people that are in our community saying, this is unconstitutional, you can't take anything from it, how can you even ask? They need to read those cases and see what the court actually said. Because there was even something in the Plain Dealer last week on Sunday about the whole drought thing and what was said and what wasn't, because they were analyzing people's issues with school levies. So that's not a good,
So it's
good
not,
argument for our case.
yeah, it's not that having people vote on a school levy to have raise money for the school is unconstitutional. It's using more than
It's over-reliance.
and over 50%.
And quite honestly, to take it a step further, the Constitution is set up for a system, a statewide system of schools. So the people that dissented on that opinion argued that they shouldn't be looking at individual districts, they should be looking at the system as a whole. But, so that's what it is. It doesn't mean that the state shouldn't do more. I think all of us are in agreement that the state has put us in a bad position with what they've done over time, especially the last couple of years. I think that's a different issue. But for us to be going back and asking for additional property tax to fund our schools is the only option that the state gives us. And according to these cases, it is not unconstitutional, at least in our situation, with how our balance of state versus local taxes go. And if Brian wanted to say, look, I have a question for Rick,
But kind of dovetail on that, the candidates might like the state said, there was, I think it was a state senator, two candidates got up, and the one guy who actually won, he said, it's time for you people to stop looking to the state to bail you out. And it's time for the state to stop looking to the federal government to bail them out. It's your responsibility to take care of your local government, your local schools, and so on and so forth. So I sat there and listened. They had about a minute. They gave you a minute or two to ask questions, and one particular lady seemed to monopolize all the question time. I didn't get a chance to ask my question, so my blood was boiling. At the end of the night, I ran up, tracked him down, and I repeated what he said to make sure I understood what he was saying. And I said, basically I can accept that, except I want to know how many unfunded mandates have you passed down to us? And he was really kind of taken back, and he said, well, we think the third grade reading guarantee, we have statistics that show that the student that can read by the third grade has a much better chance of success, My point to him was, I agree. Nobody's saying that the third grade reading guarantee isn't good. The problem, what we're saying is for us to implement that the way you wrote it and the way it was forced down our throats could cost the district between $100,000 and $150,000 a year. You have given us no money. So if you don't want us to look to you, then leave us alone, was my point. And at the end of the day, there was no change in his mind, but he's basically, we're going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. And unfortunately, he won. So it's very aggravating.
And he also said that when he made those same comments to the large group, he also added on, look, this is your choice locally what you want. What level of education do you want for your kids? That's a local choice. That's not a choice the state should make. It was his exact comment. Rick, I have a question for you. So you do come to these things, you do read the stuff that goes out. When we did those cuts and we put out there writing to everybody we could, the papers helped us put that stuff in there too, both newspapers, that we cut because we were under contractual timeframes and state timeframes, and we didn't know where the state funding was going to come in. We weren't going to know that till the end of June. So we overcut potentially, so that we weren't stuck paying for having people on staff that we couldn't cut and couldn't pay for. And then we ended up bringing back, just like we said we would, if the state cut it 10 instead of 20%. So when people bring that up, as if they're empty threats, and I'm sure you try to turn around and explain it to them. Do they listen? Do they care?
I got a call 8 hours after that article was in the paper, and he said, the person said, see, I told you that he was trying to blackmail her. That's a big threat, and I'm not going to vote for it. They have the money to run that school system. I think that's the way a lot of people see that when it appears in the paper.
But when you explain, so did you, I
They
assume,
don't, it goes in one ear and out the other.
so they don't care.
Correct.
And
Yeah, but that's.
But that's the
my
thing,
point.
Rick. So how do we get to
You're
those
wasting your
people?
time.
Obviously, you know that person, and that person doesn't even want to hear you explain it.
He doesn't care.
So
about
how do
education.
we-
You're dealing with an uneducated person that his lifestyle is so down in the dumps, he'll never improve. And the kids he's responsible never bring themselves up. I see the results of education. I went to the 12th grade, went through a 4-year apprenticeship. I used my hands to make a living. My kids got an education and then applied it. So that's why I was trying to tell you people, if they take this away from you, your kid's got to be schooled to another district, then you're, well, it made me know that people did show. I just absolutely am amazed. Maybe we did wake up, maybe some of the insults that I did that really did me, maybe they woke them up. Maybe you have to have a speaker that, in the years past, how did we get that school levy passed to build this school that we're sitting here today, and we closed the other school? Because one man took it upon himself that went around to all these groups and said why we needed this thing. That was probably the best thing that ever happened here at Waterloo. Even though I was against it, because I was a union worker, and they hired all non-union people in here that came in at that time. I didn't vote for it because I had kids here at that time. It hurt me. I didn't have no job. I had to go out of town and go to work. And here, and the people that pray on this board, some of them, when they set up that big rat out front, trying to not make some of the people that was in the union not pass that, go across that line. And showing, that's the way it is today.
But that, I think the crux of in my opinion, and again, we've tried numerous things, but I'm sure we haven't tried it all. There's different things that we fully acknowledge that are out there that I'm sure we could do. We've studied how you run these things, how you communicate. We've engaged numerous different people. But all of that being said, it's not working. And so we're obviously either don't have the right message, we're not communicating it the right way, and this is where I think a big part of it comes in. We're trying to communicate with people who don't want to be communicated with. And that's what, to me, what it comes down to a lot. And listening to what you just said kind of verifies that. If that man calls you and won't even listen to you try to explain what that is, how do we ever effectively communicate with a person like that? And if that's the majority of people in our community, what do you do? And that's what we've been struggling with for a long time. I mean, what do you do?
We brought up a lot of statistics over the last years, but the one I think that shocked me the most and broke my heart the most was out of the less than 1,200 kids that we have in this school system, 17% of those kids are special needs kids. 17%. That's like 1 out of 5 kids.
And those kids are being placed into the classroom, which brings our
That's right.
grade point, or
Well, I'm not worried about the grades, Rick, as much as I am that kid is not getting the attention that they need. There's a lot of kids here, and we've talked about class sizes and everything else, and sometimes you gotta adapt and be innovative on what you do. And I know that you can only do that so much. I'm not a teacher. I'm not even going to begin to tell Mrs. Green how to do her job, or Matt, or anybody else. I mean, I know how to do my job. She's been in this for a long time. If she tells me that this is a problem, I got to believe her. But 17% of our kids, and this is going from learning how to write their name to reading or whatever. And if we had a hard time taking care of those kids, then they're going to be so far behind now. I mean, yeah, that's the one that breaks my heart. 17% of the kids that walk through that door every day have special needs, and we're not helping. And there ain't nothing. Well, I almost said that. There ain't nothing but doggone thing that we can do about it. So, too bad you don't have a beeper like I do on the radio.
The FCC has us on a 10-second delay.
You can do anything on the internet, believe me, I know. So, that's just what bothers me the most. A lot of these kids will learn to adapt, and it may hinder them a little bit, but the ones that really need that extra attention are not going to get it, and that's what bothers me the most.
Right.
Maybe what we need to do is to try to get as many people as we possibly can together and have a brainstorming session. Talk about what we've done, so what we've done before. Today, maybe some of the things we tried are great ideas. We just maybe they need to tweak them a bit. Maybe somebody has some other great ideas. Like one of the things that we tried, I think it was the second or third levy campaign, we tried to do testimonials of past graduates about how the Waterloo education, the people, the alumni, how their experience at Waterloo helped form their lives and help them later on in life. And that was a very difficult thing to do, but it was one of those things that I thought was going to be very good and positive, but maybe there's a better way to tweak that. Maybe somebody out there has another idea. It might be good just to set a meeting day to try to invite all the people that have been to all your forums and folks here that were took the time to come here tonight to come and just try to, everybody come with a clear mind. There's no bad idea. There's no, brainstorming sessions can be very useful. You have to have some structure to them, but really, maybe we come up with some additional ideas and some things, pick all these ideas and pick a few that we really want to pound and try to hammer home the core pillar. I've always thought that the door-to-door, we tried door-to-door and we did it in small groups, consecutive weekends and things like that. I always thought more of a community door-to-door campaign where we would do it with 4 or 6 or 8 people, as many as we could get, and go from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday and do it a couple successful weekends. But I always thought we have a community door-to-door day where you have 50 to 100, as many people as you can get out there, going in groups of 2, obviously. So there's some safety involved there, but where you've got just everybody's out going door to door, that kind of thing. Knock on the door, please vote for the levy, please vote for the levy. Some of those kinds, and maybe we can, by enlarging the group and trying to get more people involved and more ideas, it will have more help pulling these things off. I'm sorry?
So we can get a meeting like that.
That would be great. That would be great.
Well, another thing too, if you're not on the email list, all the updates for everything, if you want to, is there a sign-up sheet?
Yeah.
Or I have a paper up here, you can put your email down, and then anything that goes out, reminders about the meetings, anything, you'll get an email for that, if you have it. If not, you can give me your phone number, and we can do something about that. Another thing too, for some of you who haven't been to meetings before, or have only been to a couple, whenever what Rick and Andy were talking about, I didn't know if that was confusing. If we are going to cut teachers, or if we were thinking we might have to cut teachers, we have to do, contractually, we have to do it by March 30th. March 30th, correct? Well, we have to inform them by March 30th that it's going to happen.
We have to notify the union of the positions to be cut
by March 30th, and then it has to happen before April
teachers
30th.
by April 30th.
Right. And then, but what happens is the state doesn't tell us if they're going to cut us or add or keep us the same or any of that until June 30th. So if we have to lay teachers, if we think we might have to lay teachers off, then we have to do it by April 30th. But then what happens is, then the state comes in and they were gonna cut us the 1 year by 20%, they only cut us by 10, so that meant we didn't have to cut as many. So it looked like we were holding money. We weren't. We didn't know what money we were getting in. So that's what they were discussing, if that makes sense. So if you're here, I want to make sure you understand, so you can go out and tell them.
Can you explain this? I mean, they've got to know the date that you guys are told that you're getting, know what money you're getting. Can't you work with them to?
Oh, no, hold it until June 30th at,
Did you say go to the unions?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, and see if you can work with them to where you can move their date to match more with the state's date.
I never thought of that. At least I haven't.
Oh, those,
It's kind of hard
Those are
because if you
negotiated
tell a
days.
teacher on June 30th that they, to try and find a job somewhere else, because they would have to be accepted by an August meeting, so they've got 1 month to find a job. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but in a teacher's world, if you were to tell them not till June 30th that you're going to get laid off, and then they have, support their family, find a job by August 1st, that's kind of hard. You'd have a heck of a July out there with people looking for jobs everywhere. So that might be a little.
That's a possibility.
I get a 3-day notice tonight.
Well, you're right, that does happen, or 2 weeks, you're right. You're right, that's true. So, that's a thought.
And,
Okay.
and to go off of his idea about going door to door, instead of just saying, please vote for our levy, can't you have a couple people, or more than a couple, but educated on your PowerPoint and going door to door and saying, what's your concerns about the levy? That way you have people there that know everything that can answer them.
We did do that, and we also handed out like a sheet that sort of went through all the points, like a fact sheet, yes. But we were there ready to talk to them, and I gotta say, I don't know about anyone else, but whenever I went to the door, people just didn't come to the door. And so we were sticking them in the doors. And the ones that did come to the door, we got positive feedback. We didn't get any, I don't understand why you're doing this, we didn't get negative feedback, so my guess is the negative ones didn't answer the door.
Or the positive ones that went to college tell you that.
Well, that's true too.
You want to find out who supports the levy, carry a sign to the door, knock on the door. Carry a sign to a business right here in Randolph and Atwater. And when you ask them, they tell you, no, you can't put a sign out trying to show like to say, we had kids graduate from the school. We had businesses that we thought supported the school that are educated people that tell me, no, because the teachers make too much. Or no, because the school spends too much. And you say, what are you talking about? Our teachers have done everything to try to make the school go. Our custodial staff has done everything. They've worked with Dr. Hill, and we can't do no more. But as soon as you try to get those people to commit to come to talk to Dr. Hill or talk with me and the school function, they say no. So you're not going to get through to those people. And these are educated people that we think support the school that don't. And I can say it all, but I won't say who they are. I know for a fact of a bunch of people, and those people listen to those people. And it's just so frustrating, because we think these people are supporting us. And some of these people are the ones that are going back and stabbing us in the back. And I don't know what the answer is. I tried to get 2 of them last year to come talk with David. And they said, no, my mind's made up. And you know what, when you have idiots like that in your community, and one of them lost my business. And I'm not afraid to admit that. If I have to come out in public and say who it was, I will. But it's just like the Tea Party. I want to play hardball with them now. I know it's not always the right way. Because all we're going to do is make them more mad. But, I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up with that. I talked to Andy. I said I talked to 2 people at the voting the other day. They asked me when I got out of my car, hey, you want my piece of paper to see who to vote for? I said, no, I don't want your piece of paper, but I will talk to you when I come out. And you can see in their eyes when I walk back out. I walk right over to them, now, polite as can be, and I said, stay out of politics when it comes to school. You want to vote, hey, who to vote for individuals?
And they said, just don't mess with politics. And I told them the guy I wanted to talk to, and they said they would contact him, and I still haven't got a phone call from him today.
And you won't.
And he lives right up the street here, and he won't call me. And I graduated with him. And you know, and I'm not afraid to do it. And I'll put my name in the paper, whatever it takes to do it. But is it the right way to do it? I don't always know. And I'm never going to do it if Andy doesn't want me to do it. I ask him every time. Can I do it this time? I put my name to it, and he says, and I understand why, because he's the voice of reason, and I'm probably not. But I love this school too much to see what's happening to it right now.
It is.
By the way, his name is Vern Blainston.
Gary, did you?
I just had a quick question. Where can I read up on the mandates that the state holds?
Do we have those in one section, or are they?
Well, I'll get something posted.
I'll get something posted. You'll give it to me.
We know you do all.
I believe I have something.
They spend way too much time together.
So,
I just wanted to address Scott real quick, just let him know, we spent the last three, not this past Monday, the last 2 months before that, going door to door and making phone calls. Exactly what you guys are suggesting. And based off the feedback and the support we got, we should have passed 4 times a week.
They just lie right to your
We
face.
we spent 3 weekends, one of them was barely full.
It wasn't.
Almost barely. Yeah. Well.
It was.
The teachers with us, we went door to door, we spent a few more street nights in the offices over here, going down 300 call-ins. Based off of all that, it should have passed by like 85%. This is the last time that we're going to do it. But we have done every bit of that.
The other thing is there are a lot of people in this community that aren't registered to vote. You'd be surprised. So if you have someone who's positive to the school, convince them to get out and register to vote. And we've done that too. We've passed out several cards to fill out. But if they can get out and register to vote, or recent graduates like the 18 to 24-year-olds, it's a 7%, 6%.
I think that's
Out of
one
that
of the places that we really should concentrate.
If we
is
can
that
get to those
25 and under.
yeah.
Because, I mean, like the 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, I think we had like 10 votes in that age group. Those are the kids that are most recently impacted by our school.
we have done some things with efforts like that. One time, Sandy already asked a couple of elections ago. She did it 2 in a row. I think she sent out, they did a letter, she got it personalized by teachers that knew the recent graduates, and I think they mailed 600 some letters with absentee ballot applications in there, encouraging them to get out and vote. But you're right, I mean, that's definitely an area that we could do better in how to reach them. The mandates thing, you can go on Tracy Early's website or online, and you can find the presentation on the 3rd grade guarantee that was mentioned earlier with all the details. There is a list of unfunded mandates from an organization down in Columbus called PASA that I think I have. And once I get that, are you on the email list? You get the emails I send out. So if you could leave your email before you go, I'll give it to you.
To reach those that are not registered to vote, have you ever thought about maybe holding an event or, making t-shirts or something to maybe get them?
We've done so many meetings and forums and passing out this information and the mail. You wouldn't believe the work we've done trying to reach the people that we need to reach. And a big part of the problem is the people who do support the levy either don't have the time to get involved or don't want to get involved to help us spread the word more. It's the same group of people doing this all the time, and we need to help with that. And fresh ideas, because just about everything that somebody mentioned, at one time or another, we've done in one way or another. I mean, it's
Why is that like banging your head on the wall?
One of the things we did is we took the list of parents, school children, and we cross-referenced it with the list of registered voters. We came up with 295 parents of students in our school that were not registered voters. And we sent each one of them a letter, a flyer, and the registration form. And I think, did we put the stamp on the registration form? All they had to do was fill it out and drop it in the mail. And I think
Well,
we
not
picked,
even just reaching those that are the elderly people that, or older people that aren't registered yet. We always have an event for the kids that are still in high school, that are just turning 18, to get them more interested in going into voting.
We actually do that in our class. I think the kids that are back here, not that we're not glad you're here, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Boley made you come, didn't he? Yep, see? So, I mean, we're glad you're here, you're welcome to come anytime, but we know whenever we have kids here, usually Mr. Boley makes them come. So they do that in government and POD. They have them come to a board meeting. They have to report back, they have to get something signed, but they are offered registration cards to register to vote. And then they do, that's how my daughter registered too when she was 18, was through Mr. Boley's class. So I mean, we do that also. All your ideas are good, keep them coming, because at some point you're gonna say something, we're gonna, oh, we didn't try that. Because,
Don't make this the last meeting that you attend.
Oh, no,
Please.
but no, I mean,
I
all
don't
of
say
those,
that to you.
like I said, they're all good ideas because we've used them before. It's just, we just gotta keep, there's gotta be something else out there that we haven't tried, and we don't know what it is. But all of those are good ideas, so, yes, Marcia.
Stand up, would you?
I saw her, man.
I do have to say that when me, Sean Renee, and Becky all went and registered that morning, there was seniors there voting. We saw.
And a lot of them do absentee. I know my daughter does absentee because she's away at school, so we do that too. We did that too. We mailed out Brian what he does every election on it at his own
and we didn't
expense.
do it this time. We didn't do it this time.
Oh, okay. Well,
We'll ratify.
okay, do I tout your accomplishments or
And
not?
we haven't been successful, so there's not much of an accomplishment.
Anyway, what he usually does is anytime an absentee ballot goes out, he can get a list of who all they went to, and then he would send a letter and a flyer or whatever from us saying, please vote, to support the levy, and he would send those out so that it would hit their house the same day as the absentee ballot would hit.
You get a letter from Dr. Hill
Mhm.
asking them to vote for it, and I think.
So we did that too.
And that was usually anywhere from 200 to 400 in an election.
Yeah.
During the month, I think it's a month up before the election.
So keep them coming. There's got to be, yes.
Back to involving the kids,
Mhm.
are we allowed to make little announcements or have DVDs with music and a little, I mean, they don't have to tell us like stories, but blurbs here and there, put to some music. Matt's doing that probably. Making something real catchy and like when the gym's packed during a basketball game, capture these next few months that we need. The kids are out there warming up, we hear music. Why not, in the midst of that, just have a catchy little announcement with a few things from the kids, which is a few positive things. Maybe some of the seniors for their government things, standing out here, handing out flyers. It's not going to cost us as much as mailing. And we have 3 or several sports banquets coming up next week. Are we allowed to make, not telling them what to do, but saying, we're disappointed. Our kids, our community is suffering. We need our school. We've tried to tell you. Now listen to what the kids have to say. Doesn't have to be long. Just a couple things to maybe open some eyes. And Lisa, those people that they tell us are telling stories and acting like they like the school and go, are they at these kind of events? They don't go to school stuff.
The two that I really are upset with, the kids are long
Do
gone.
they go to church?
I
Oh, well, only reason I'm saying that is, we catch people here with our little catchy slogans and
They
things.
give the same story. Well, I took a 10% pay cut. Why did teachers take
We
10%
took
pay cut?
that's in a year.
Why did they do this? I said, do you realize how much pay cuts and how much cutting has been going on at our school? Maybe if you got involved and checked, maybe you'd find out what everybody is giving up.
Right, everybody's
And, but
doing
it's just, that they're just,
But their kids still need to be educated.
it's just so hard to be professional and so you see people.
Right, oh, yeah, you do. And the other thing is, a lot of people go to church, and you capture all age groups at church. Atwater and Randolph have a lot of churches, and a lot of local businesses, and if we could come up with one of these catchy DVD things, and maybe a slogan or a sign to get put out on these businesses and sent to the pastors, and maybe community members go and meet with their personal pastors or whatever that they have a rapport with and say, you know, I know you may not think this is really the time or the place, but we need your support, we need your congregation's support. Would there be meetings or a time during your service that you could capture this small little message from our kids?
One of the things we've always stayed away from is
Right. So if we're not going there badgering them with us, they can do it at a time that's convenient for them. It can be as short and sweet as a few kids talking with a little bit of catchy music,
I could do something in like a God voice.
whatever you need to do.
we've always, it's one of those things that we've always kind of stayed away from involving the kids, because then there are people that say, oh, you're using the kids to push it, and it's kind of a fine line. But in my mind, I think that I could throw that out the door, because staying away from that hasn't been helping us. So what's the worst thing that we can do by involving the kids? I mean, we lost, what,
Cleveland did it, look at all the Cleveland.
I mean,
Look at all the
so I think
Cleveland
that,
ads.
I
They
think
all
that's
had a
something
child
that
with
we
And
need
it
to want to
is
retain.
kind of tricky because we know
It
how
tugged at my
to.
heart when my youngest son yesterday looked at me and said, Mom, can we move the roads down because they passed?
Oh, my God.
And then my oldest son said, what are they gonna take away from us next, our lunches? That's what I got yesterday after.
I know it's kind of tricky
I
with the
think-
kids because you
I
keep
agree.
worried about the safety and stuff. But I work at Children's Hospital, and all of our slogans for our fundraisers and our drives, we have propaganda, anything we have out there involves our kids, and we tell our story through video, through posters, through everything. Right, and everything has a child, a precious child, and a good story behind it, whether it's a few words or a paragraph or a voice.
So we should have Dr. Hill on a video taking away a lunch from the kids at lunch table. With his red hat saying, no more lunch for you.
No soup for you.
That's kidding.
I would say that has been one of my suggestions in the past, and it's just been taking the time to do it, and we need to do it. I'm gonna suggest it again, is that Southeast did that. They made a CD or DVD of different events at the schools, different pictures of the kids, showed what was going on, showed the things that the people aren't here and don't see what we're doing, and show what we do here at Waterloo, and say, you know, we're at Waterloo and this is what it is. And Steve volunteered to do it, and we just have not, everyone's just been so busy to do that, so we need to do that.
Just nothing to do with money, just getting the kids in the paper.
Right. Well, what they did was they actually made,
Somebody must walk around that school and take pictures of stuff.
they actually made a DVD, and I took pictures of Grandparents' Day, and we've taken
But
different,
it doesn't
but,
get paper.
but
Yes, it
well, it did. But what Southeast did was they made a DVD, and what they did is they had copies made. And they went door to door and they handed them to every single voter and said, please watch this. And yeah, some might throw it away, but sometimes they're not gonna read that paper, but they might put that DVD in. Now granted, some of them don't have DVD players, so, I mean, you could insult some that way too, but at the same time, if you have this, and you pass those out and say, this is what's going on in our school, we're proud of our school, this is what's going on in our school, this is our kids. And have some testimonials on that and have all, you know, some music and that sort of thing. And that was something else we talked about. It is a time consuming thing, but we have to revisit that and do something like that, so.
Peer pressure means a lot, even at our age. You know, an old buddy of mine, Ted Nugent, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen him speak to kids. And the last thing that he ends with is, you know, he talks about peer pressure, and he's very anti-drugs, very anti-alcohol, and I know that for a fact because I've seen it. But he says, why would you want to be like anybody else? Make everybody want to be like you. And, you know, there's a lot of people that won't speak out about this, you know, voting yes or no for the levy or whatever, you know. People are afraid to stand up, and I think that, you know, peer pressure is what it's all about. When we start showing people, I am very proud of what we have here. I hate to see it diminish anymore, and I'll tell anybody, of course I voted for it. You know, and plus I want everybody to be like me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. At that note, we do roll call, and we're going to go ahead and start the meeting.
Pusateri?
Here.
Whittlesey? Young?
Here.
Fletcher?
Here.
Jones?
I'm here, but I'm not so sure I want to be out
The
there.
meeting is called to order. Under President's reports on some positive things, we do have a lot going on at the school. Like Mary Kay said, we have sports banquets next week. Like Rick said, we have the Veterans breakfast tomorrow. We have one in the elementary school, I believe at 8:30, and one in the high school at 9. So, the kids really get into it. The veterans are here, and it's a nice thing. And we do have our school open as much as we can for the people in the community. So hopefully they'll come and see what we have here, what a gym we have here. We also have tonight, tomorrow night, and Saturday night, there's a play going on, if you're interested in that, and it's always good. It surprises me at this small school how we have the talent that we have, but it's at 7 o'clock. We're missing the one tonight. It's Friday and Saturday night at 7 o'clock. If you come, usually it's pretty packed, so they do a really good job. And this year, the play is elementary school all the way up through high school. Usually it's just middle school, or usually it's just in the spring, the musical, but this year they have little kids also in the play. So we also have the WCAC things on December 8th. We have PTO, so I'm just pushing all that stuff. The more we can get people in the building, hopefully the more they'll see what a nice school we have and how proud we are of it. Okay, Andy, Superintendent's report?
Yeah, everything that I have listed there, I wrote about on that agenda detail, so unless there's any questions.
I just want to commend you and the staff for the ACT prep course. That was one of the things that I know back 3 years ago when I campaigned and talked about adding classes and this and that, but that is, you know, really, when students are going to college, probably the biggest factor in getting accepted and getting your grants and your aid and your scholarships really is your ACT score. I mean, that is just paramount. That's probably the single most, you know, you need to have a decent GPA, but as soon as you hit the magic number of 28 on your ACT, all of a sudden, free tuition starts coming around to students for your 4 years of college. So we've been through these tough financial times. We've talked about all the cuts, but yet through some very creative means, Dr. Hill has been able to get that program going. And this is the first year we've been able to offer, but he's done a great job. And thanks to Mr. Cliff Schmidt.
Yeah, Cliff Schmidt.
Who's doing it he's doing it after hours or after school.
Yeah, he's doing it after school.
After school, you know, so that's a lot of, I mean, again, that's Mr. Schmidt staying on his own time to help. I think we're having about 12, 13 kids in each of the sessions to help them prepare for the ACT test. So that is just fabulous. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, we were lucky that Mr. Schmidt was willing to do that, because we originally had it set up with Debbie Morgan, who was doing Tempted here. And when she left us this summer, we didn't fill that position because of the cost. And so we're lucky that he stepped up and was able to put that together and make it work. So I'll pass that message on to him.
Okay. Thank you. Todd?
We need to add the consent agenda under superintendent's business. Letters F through N, that was laid out in the table. That's all.
Yeah, we will when we get to the agenda. That's
You are going to, okay. I just didn't want that to pass. Okay, is that it? Thank you. Diane Maplewood?
Maplewood was held October 24th, the same night that we had our all boards dinner. The meeting was cut short because of that, but I will touch on a couple things we talked about, electronic textbook and whether or not they're effective. And there was a lot of discussion on that. A lot of it was basically, it would cause a lot of distractions. Kids are easily distracted when they have electronics in front of them. The other thing we discussed was decline in participation in sports, and I have a lot to say on that part of it too, because in our district, we have to pay to participate where we're dealing with other districts. I kind of want to hear what all they have to say about it. And we had a lot of that discussion already tonight, but a lot of the reason too why there's a decline in sports, it's not only hitting our district, it's hitting a lot of the others. These juniors and senior kids can't participate in sports because they have to get jobs at home. And we found that that's a lot of it too, and that was just kind of sad when we were talking about it, because if you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you know, that's one of the highlights of your high school years, to be able to participate in clubs and in sports and things like that, and they're asked now by their parents to work to help at home. So that was kind of like a really big discussion that night, and it really kind of hit home. It just made us feel really bad that, you know, our economy's at the point where, you know, those are the types of things that are happening out there. So it is hitting hard. It just really made me feel really sad that night because we talked about all those kinds of things. But that was really about it. Everything else was just customary, and we just kind of went through the meeting quickly because we had the boards dinner. So, pass these out. You guys can do.
I didn't get to make the board dinner. How was it? Good.
It was really good.
It was better than me.
Really?
a ton of.
That's what I feel.
I don't need it if you want it. Okay.
Really?
Yes, I thought the food was awesome.
Every year, the culinary class at Maplewood does a dinner for all the school board members and superintendents and treasurers that go to Maplewood, so, in the district. So, every year they do a phenomenal job. I mean, it's from appetizer to dessert, and they have a speaker come, and they really did. The police group, I don't know what they're...
The security,
they do all the parking, and then they used to have a gardening department. They don't have that anymore, but they did the centerpieces. So who does the centerpieces?
I can't remember who they said that night.
Yeah, but each, like it, they handle the whole thing. And then there's usually entertainment from one of the schools. One year our choir sang up there. So it's a very nice thing that they do for all the board members. So.
Kathleen Klein.
I did miss it.
She was just,
She
I know.
She's very good.
yeah.
She's from Garfield, so
She's a very good.
we'll forgive her of that because she does support Waterloo too.
She just seemed genuinely concerned.
She is.
You could
She
feel her
understands.
genuineness in the just in that.
I think being from Garfield, which is a similar district to ours, she understands a lot of our problems. So she's not one that says, well, I'm going to Washington, and if I want to get reelected, I can't help you people. She truly does want to help. So I'm happy to see she got back in again. So, anything else?
No, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Ken, legislative update?
It's sitting on my desk.
You didn't memorize?
Yeah, I have a couple of points. Well, just primarily, we got 2 House bills sitting on track. I don't think there's anything in the wings, and there's some of the 136 bills that they, or 136, I think. I can't remember exactly what that was, but nothing that's pertinent to our situation right now. One thing that I did want to bring to everyone's attention was that, Capitol Conference is coming up early next week, Sunday through Wednesday, and it's going to be a real opportunity, especially for me being newer on the board, to interact with other board members, other school systems. And I've been down there once before, but it's a great opportunity to centralize a lot of information and, see the different presentations and speakers and vendors, and really gives us an opportunity to do some one-stop shopping. Also, the Ohio School Boards Association, they're finalizing their legislative agenda, and the OSBA basically are advocates for public school systems. So, they're going to have some presentations down at Capitol Conference, and it'll be interesting to see those people and kind of gather ideas of maybe what we can use to better our position here in the district.
For those of you that don't know, Capitol Conference it's a conference for board members and administrators. They hold it every year in Columbus. It's in the convention center, and what they have is classes and brainstorming classes, basically is what it is. If there's a school that, like at one time when we built this school, because we did it under budget and ahead of schedule, our superintendent at the time went down and he did a class on how to build a building ahead of schedule and under budget. So if you're someone who's looking to build a building, you can go to that class. They have some on shared services. They have, I was looking at the list of, they have them on bullying. They have them on all kinds of different things, financial meetings on funding and that sort of thing. So you just plan, just a little tip, go through your book and plan, because some things overlap, but you can get in 4 classes if you can get it in per day. So, but it's a learning opportunity for board members. So it's a great thing that they do. So,
something kind of legislative, if you understand. Just during my exchange with Mr. Eklund in Canada this night, I asked him, up in Cleveland, they passed a special ruling that when Cleveland students go to charter schools and things like that, they take the state money and the local money with them, which is the only place in the state to do that. And I asked him, I said, is that just the testing ground for what's to come to the rest of the state? And he assured me that that's not the case, that Cleveland mayor and the people running the school came and asked the state legislature to do that. And that's the reason that they set up the charter schools and things like that in Cleveland, so they're taking both sides of the money. But he assured me that that's not the case.
Well, they've gone out of their way to say it's the Cleveland plan, and the Cleveland plan applies no results.
So hopefully he was well informed.
Governor Casey, who supports that plan, has been on the record as talking about that being a model that, if successful, should be duplicated in other areas across the state. So
they're going to make sure it's successful. So they get charter schools throughout
So
the state.
he's from the same party as Governor Kasich. He lost, but he won the whole. His whole district. It's Congress, right? Not state senate.
he's state senate.
State senate. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Andy, you want to go over anything else consent? Oh,
Yeah.
does anybody have anything on the new business? Other business?
I just want to point out a couple of things on the agenda that Todd talked about before, for the consent agenda. Three different things. First, we had a family that came in yesterday and very upset by the fact that the school levy failed. And Dr. Tim and Val Northlow donated $1,500 to the district and wanted us to know that we should use it however we deem appropriate for the district. They thank us for all that we do, and they think their children are getting great education here at Waterloo, and they're extremely disheartened that the community hasn't stepped up to help fund the school. So, yeah, it was and they were very sincere. You could really sense their heartfelt appreciation for the district and their disappointment in this latest levy result. So I want to thank them for what they did.
Yeah, he is, I don't know if any of you know who he is, but he works at Akron University, but he is, I think he's probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, because half the time I can't understand him. But he is just really, really intelligent, and his kids are gifted also. But for him to say that they're getting a great education here, you know, we all think our kids are getting a great education, but for someone who is educated, who is a professor, and who wants his children, of course, to have that same kind of education and be in the same position and for him to say that, I think that's great. But and he's actually not, he's from England. He's from here, so she is, but he isn't. But for them to say that, I think that's wonderful for them to do that. I did have a couple of people say that instead of, since the levy didn't pass, can they just give us their tax money and deposit it in our account, and maybe then we can. I said, wow, I don't know. We can always look into that too. Instead of going through the county, just give us the money that your taxes would have gone up, and maybe we can figure it out. But
A lot of people said that.
I know, a lot of people said that. I know, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, I wonder how that would work. But, Todd, get out the invoices and start billing people directly. Yeah, that would be a nightmare. But anyway, but we want to thank them. That was very nice.
And then I wanted to comment on items J and K, just to say we're going to be rolling out this new point of sale system for the cafeteria system. And the detail for that talks about why those are necessary, those items. But the point I want to make, and I should have wrote it on this sheet, and I will when we put out the further information. As was noted earlier, our cafeteria area is its own separate entity, and the money that comes into that can only be used for that purpose. So we are investing in something that we believe will lead to greater efficiency for us for both our school end and parents end. But I want to make it clear that we're not taking money out of our general operating fund to pay for that during a time where we don't have money. This is coming out of the cafeteria fund where we do have money. It's an allowable expense for that program. And so we're moving forward with some things there. And then lastly, item M, I want to acknowledge the retirement of Nick Julia after 35 years in education. The last 11 here at Waterloo, he's decided he's going to call it a career. January 31st is his last day here, so it'll be effective February 1st. He's not with us tonight. He's down actually the administrator at the play that's going on. But we're thankful for all that he's done here at Waterloo. I think he served as both middle school principal, and then the last, I'm not sure how many years, as the high school principal. So we wish him nothing but the best in his retirement. And last month we had a long meeting and we kind of flew through the agenda, and I wanted to try to take a moment with these consent agendas to recognize people that are retiring. And I did not mention last month Mike Hood, who's been with the district close to 30 years, if not 30 years, as a bus driver. He retired effective October 31st. That was on last month's agenda, and I realized a day or two later that I didn't take a moment to share that publicly out loud like this. So Mike's now enjoying retirement. I hope he's doing well. Maybe he's home watching. I doubt it. But,
I started here right after graduated
Yeah.
from Waterloo and went right to.
But he's another one that invested a number of years of his life here and did a lot of good for us. And so we wish him and Nick both the best in retirement. So that's all.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Second? Second. Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Whittlesey?
Yes.
Gump?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment and preparing for negotiations?
Make the motion.
Second? Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Yes. Count?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes. And we don't expect to have any action coming out of executive session. And just, if you haven't been here before, you know we're usually here till midnight because Andy likes to talk. So be glad you can go home now.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you all
for
for
coming.
coming. We really appreciate it.
Don't be strange.
No. And really, give us your emails if you want to get updates. And if you have any questions, feel free to come on up.
Tom?